Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Just caught me there just preparing for the video, making myself look glamorous. That was my glamorous assistant, Lemon Lord. So anyway, I've got a different one today. Today we're looking at Johnny Depp in horror. Because he's in quite a few horror films. He obviously enjoys being in a dark and macabre kind of film. And not many big sort of like Hollywood actors really appeal to me, but Johnny Depp is one of them. I do like his films, even the ones that are non-horror. He's got this sort of charisma about him on film, which is fantastic. Although he's quite humorous in a lot of his roles, he's still very, very good. And there's not many big sort of like Hollywood actors that really appeal to me like that. Maybe Keanu Reeves being the other one. Whereas Keanu Reeves is more into your sort of sci-fi and sort of comic book kind of films more than like horror genre. Well, Johnny Depp seems to be in a few horror genre. And I'm going to choose today my favourite 5. So this is my top 5 horror films starring Johnny Depp. So that's quite cool to look at. Now, he has done other ones that are not in this top 5. Things like Dark Shadows and stuff like that, which are like a comedy sort of vampire film. But these are, yeah, some of them have got humour in it, but some of them quite serious. And so let's crack on. Number 5 is a sort of horror comedy musical, if you like, and it's Tim Burton's version of Sweeney Todd, starring Johnny Depp, and I think that's Bonham Carter. It seems to be, I think it's Tim Burton's wife, isn't it? So this is a film of Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd, based on a sort of folklore kind of tale of a barber that used to kill his victims and turn them into pies and stuff like that, and sell them on as pies, and all this sort of thing. And this is like a musical sort of black comedy horror version of it, and it is quite gory, and it is a really cool sort of film. I've had this for a number of years now. This is a Warner Brothers release, and it's in as like a steel book case, which is really nice. It's really not. I'm not really into steel books. My lad loves them, but I'm not really into steel books. But when I get a nice one, I'm really quite happy with it. Like I really like this one. I think the coloration on it is really cool, and that startling sort of like blood across there is amazing. So yeah, number 5. I think this is probably the second or third Johnny Depp film I saw as him in as a horror film, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun, and there's a lot of singing in it as well, which brings another sort of like dimension to the film, which I like. A lot of people don't think you can do that, but I like quite a few musical horrors. So I've got The Happiness of the Guitarist, which is the Japanese film, which is amazing, and obviously The Wicker Man is kind of a folklore horror musical, which is another fantastic sort of film. Back to Johnny Depp. And number 4 is probably his film debut. I think it's the first film he starred in, and it was Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, alongside Robert Englund and that. And this is about Freddy Krueger, and this stars a very, very young Johnny Depp, and he plays one of the teens. That's his girlfriend is the one that's been sort of like really haunted by Freddy, and he stays with her trying to help her keep her awake and all this sort of thing. And ends up, sadly, Johnny gets his demise in this film. But for a debut film, it's really, really cool. And quite a few massive sort of Hollywood stars have started their career in horror films. You think of Kevin Bacon? He started in Friday the 13th, you know, and then he went on to do Tremors and stuff, you know. But yeah, this is a really cool film, and it's an iconic horror film, and it stars a very young Johnny Depp. And that's number 4, Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 3 is a bit more of a sort of serious sort of film in a way, and it's a sort of mystery, thriller, drama, horror, detective sort of film called The Ninth Gate. Now this is based with Johnny Depp. He stars as like a collector of old books, and he's been asked by this old guy to pick up these old books called The Ninth Gate, which are supposedly being written by the devil, but there's 3 different books, I believe, but only one of them's real. So this guy's looking for all 3, and he sends Johnny Depp out to try and hunt it down. And then there's other people chasing Johnny Depp around, and he gets involved with these sort of like occult sort of groups and stuff like that that's going on. And it's a really, really cool film. And some of the deaths in the books are being sort of copied in real life, and some of the characters die in the same way they do in the book. And it's like the hunting down for this book and trying to find out which ones are real, which is a forgery. And it's a really, really cool film. Really, really good. It's not an out-and-out horror. It's got real big, strong horror elements. I'd say probably the finale is the horror part of the film, when they're trying to raise the devil up. But it's a really, really cool, atmospheric. I would class it as a gothic sort of horror. And it's really, really cool. Ninth Gate, number 3. Number 2, we're going back to the gothic horrors again. And we're going back to Tim Burton. And we're going to look at Sleepy Hollow. Now this again is another famous tale, folklore tale, which has been told many a time about the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. And Johnny Depp stars as like an investigator from the local town that's been sent there. I think because he's not really well liked in the force where he's from, so they send him there to get him out of the way to solve the mystery of these beheadings. And it's like this tale of the Headless Horseman, and he's gone in to investigate it to see if it's true or if it's just folklore or whatever it is. So he gets drawn into the story and falls for one of the local women there, and it turns into a really sort of dark gothic film with some elements of dark comedy in the film as well. He plays Inspector Crane. Yeah, and it's a really cool, great looking film. Beautiful looking film, and this has just been released on 4K. I'm surprised they've not done that one yet, Sweeney Todd. But yeah, they've just released that on 4K. I do have it on Blu-ray as well. But yeah, but I picked this up just because I knew this was going to look absolutely stunning on 4K, and it is. It's absolutely amazing. It's really cool to have, but it's one of his very similar to sort of Jack Sparrow, whatever it is, that sort of comical sort of like character that he plays so well. It's quite similar in this as well. He plays this sort of fumbling, sort of shy but kind of character that's but still gets everything done right in his own sort of weird and wonderful way. And it's a really, really cool film. Really highly recommend Sleepy Hollow. It's a really good film. It is quite gory, this film. There is quite a few beheadings in it, so it's not suitable for any sort of younger viewers. So it can only be number 1, can't there? And number 1 is when he plays the film as the London Cockney detective in From Hell, starring Johnny Depp and Robbie Coltrane. Now this is based on a so-called true story of Jack the Ripper. Obviously nobody knows who Jack the Ripper was, but this film sort of gives you a version of who they believe Jack the Ripper was, which they think was a doctor that had connections to the royal family, because one of the royals befriended a local prostitute and they had a child, so they wanted to keep it quiet. So Jack the Ripper went out killing these prostitutes and stuff like that. This is one side of the story that gets told on Jack the Ripper. And Johnny Depp stars as the detective with Robbie Coltrane, and they're investigating the killings and trying to piece the bits of jigsaw together whilst he's tackling his own demons. He seems to be sort of addicted to opium and stuff, and again in the Victorian times I think that was quite a thing. Just like today, everyone's heroin and stuff like that. But back then, it was opium was the new sort of drug, and absinthe and all these sort of weird substances that people tend to abuse themselves with. And he's tackling that at the same time. And I love this film because it integrates other films and other things of that time. Like there's a part of the film where you see John Merrick in the film, The Elephant Man. You see all these sort of Victorian iconic sort of things going on all around this story, as well as like the royal family with the Queen Victoria and things like that. And I love all of that. It's just really cool. The costumes are amazing on this. It's really well acted, and I actually really like Johnny Depp's Cockney accent. I think he's done a really good job, to be honest, and I really enjoyed it. And that is my favourite Johnny Depp horror film, and it's called From Hell. Absolutely amazing. So that is my top 5 Johnny Depp films in horror. So yeah, like I said, he seems to like the dark and the macabre. I kind of wish he did more, to be honest. More of the sort of serious sort of horror films, because I think he's got such a sort of screen presence that a lot of actors don't have. He's got this sort of like slacker kind of way about him, where it just seems always chilled out, and just sort of like, and I like that. It reminds me of a very young sort of Mickey Rourke in his films. He had that same sort of style in the films like Angel Heart and 9.5 Weeks and stuff like that. He has got that same sort of swagger about him, and I like that. And I think he's really cool. I think he's a great sort of a character actor, and he does really, really well. There's not many that I can think of that translates well into horror films. Maybe Gary Oldman, pretty cool in horror movies. He's like a character sort of actor, as well as like Anthony Hopkins. He's brilliant in horror films. But Johnny Depp is absolutely fantastic. So, and it's quite surprising how many horror films he's actually made. When you see him, you automatically think of Pirates of the Caribbean or Willy Wonka. You know, but he's actually, you know, he's a horror actor, and a mighty fine one he is too. So that's it. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning into this video. Stay tuned for more videos. Check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzawell, I'm the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. Check his channel out, it's great. And a massive shout out to my horror loving son and lad and makeup artist, and my sort of a gopher, Lemon Lord. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.